Hello everyone and welcome to Lit Bashing, where the L stands for Legions, the I stands for Imperialis, and the T-bashing stands for Kitbashing. This is a long overdue video where I'm going to go through the force that I took to Warhammer World on, it's like 18th of April or something, a long time ago, April this year. And it was at that tournament where I was fortunate enough to tug on enough nostalgic heartstrings of people fondly remembering Isstvan III and the glorious victories won that day, that I came away with the favourite army of the judges and the favourite army of the combatants. So I was very grateful for that. I was very flattered, very humbled. So I thought I'd go through my army that I took on that day, not from a competitive point of view, because you could probably look at it and see it's not a competitive army. There's no War Master, there's only one squad of heavy support. This is very much a fluffy army. But in spite of it being a fluffy army, it did still end up in the top half. It came 9th out of the 30th, I think. So top 10, actually. That's not bad. Particularly for an army as unabashedly fluffy as this one. I say fluffy because it does represent all 4 of the traitor legions, in fact mixed traitor and loyalist at the time, they haven't got rid of the loyalist yet, legions present at Isstvan III. And one of the Titan Legios as well. So we'll go through them as we go through the video. Important to this channel though is there are several lit bashes in here never before seen, because I thought they weren't really big enough for their own video, and I always said, oh, I'll just go through them when I show everyone the models I took to Warhammer World, and then other lit bashes, other life got in the way, and I never actually did this roundup. So I'm looking forward to showing you some of the never before seen little fluffy lit bashes hidden amongst the squads here. Now, full disclosure, some of these models aren't exactly in the same condition that they went to Warhammer World with. Firstly, I've had a little play around with unit sizes, and so some are missing the occasional model. I'm doing a little feature character, Kitbash, to lead this little squad, so while that's in the pipeline, he's there without some friends. And I'm also having a swap around of some of the weapons on these Predators. So they currently have, some of them are missing their lascannon sponsons, and they're also missing their base. They had bases when I took them to Warhammer World, but I've changed my mind on how I want to base some of my tanks, so I'm mixing and matching some of those as we speak. And of course the biggest difference is since Warhammer World, where I took all these basically in a loose box that jangled around everywhere, I have painstakingly magnetized the bottom of every single one of these, so that the next time I go to a tournament or just a general game anywhere, I'll have all my models very safely and securely stuck to magnet sheets, which will be nice, because carrying them around in a rucksack, you can hear them on your back going sometimes I'm sure I actually heard the moment as little guardsmen fell off the base, so I'm looking forward not to hearing that anymore. So, the ones you have seen, or you have seen if you've been watching these videos since the beginning, we have the OG Lit Bash, the one that kind of got viral on Reddit and started this channel. I've got my little idol on here. He is still my baby. Although he's not as accurate as some of my later kit bashes, I still think he's one of the best. I think I've used the bits available to their utmost, and considering he is so small, has a little bit of sculpting, has a little bit of chopping, and particularly that Mark IV backpack, I think I'm very proud of him. If I were to change him now, I don't think I'd do anything different with Idol on himself, but I am going to repaint the Medic Eye, because at the time I just painted him Emperor's Children's colours, and in retrospect I think I am going to paint him more white, as is traditional for Medic Eye and Apothecaries, so I'm going to at least paint his helmet white as opposed to the purple it is now, which is a shame, because I think I did quite a good job highlighting at such a tiny scale. But never mind. I'm also quite proud of the banner of this one. The kind of freehand on the eagle and the eye. I think that's it's a good model. I'm proud of this one. I'm glad this is the one that kind of blew up, I suppose, and kickstarted everything else. So yeah, he was fun leading my team, and he very rarely ever died as well, because this other Litbash, which again you've seen, I think it was like the second or third one I did, were these Sunkiller squads. And I've got more on the way for the other weapon variants. I've got Heavy Bolter, Heavy Support teams, and Multi-Melter, which are going to be another squad of Sunkillers for the Emperor's Children. So yeah, so I've got 8 of these guys. I only made one in the video, but I now have a whole 8 to max out a squad of Heavy Support. It's fluffy, but Sunkillers are fluffy, and it just so happens they're a great unit. I'm allowed one maxed out unit of Heavy Support. I think that's allowed. And if you don't think that's allowed, in the comments about why that's not allowed, please do engage with this video. I'll put on stats on the screen at the moment about how many of you are subscribed versus how many of you aren't, as people always do when they present YouTube videos. They go, did you know that only X% of my viewers aren't subscribed? Generally speaking, because we're quite a niche market, most of you are subscribed, I think, or at least you were last time I checked. But I will check again, and if the number showing up on screen now is, oh, that's a lot more, if you should be subscribed, then subscribe, have fun. We are fun here. We're all about chopping up tiny little models into even tinier bits to turn them into different tiny models. It's a very fun, very silly thing to do, and we'd love you to join our fun and silliness. So do that. Back to the models. In terms of the Emperor's Children side, I don't think there's any other specific Litbash. Oh no, tell a lie, I did use some bits, some Solar Auxilia bits, just to make the leader of this little tactical squad a little bit more interesting. Like I said, I was doing a character kitbash on these, that I get a little bit annoyed when, I don't mind all the tactical squads all looking the same, but when all the commanders are just standing there with the same 2 poses of pistol and sword, it's nice to have a bit of variety. So I gave him a couple of Solar Auxilia weapons just to make him look a bit more Emperor's Children-y. I think the sabre brings to mind the Charnable Blades style, or even the Palatines, and a little bit more of an energy pistol. Yeah, so that's him. But I do have this kind of general tip. All of my flyer bases are interchangeable. I've got some in 50 base and some in 40 base, depending on how big the aircraft is. So I've made a kind of flyer base here. I've used the flight stand extender from the Thunderhawk kit and stuck it in the middle of one of these gun emplacements from the Adeptus Titanicus kit. The kind of all the gubbins that come with the main box of that, and broken that up, stuck the energy cell here, rested against, so it's sort of a kind of broken bit of something with a chimney, and I've painted it a little bit black, so again, so it looks like a smoggy, smoky chimney, and it just makes it more interesting. And off-centered it as well. Wherever I can, I off-center my flight bases, because rarely are these dead in the center, and having them off-center just gives you both a little bit more leeway of finding the best center of gravity, and lets you play with the posing a bit more. Like, that's much better, just being a little bit... we're adults playing with toys. If I want to make my Xiphon Interceptor go at a cocky angle, I'm going to do it, goddammit. So I did, and I recommend you all do the same too. There's another flight stand we're going to look at later, which has got even more nonsense on it. So look forward to that when I get around to that. I haven't scripted this, in case it wasn't obvious. This is much more a train of thought type video. So yeah, bear with me as I try to be as entertaining as possible without a script. Next, let's go to the sort of, not really architects of the heresy, because I think we can all agree that's probably either the word bearers or the Alpha Legion, depending on just how deep you think the Alpha Legion goes. But certainly the figurehead of the heresy, so much so it's named after them. The Sons of Horus are here in green. I've got a few little mini Litbashes here. First of all, this was before I realised how good A, Sentinels were, and B, that I was actually going to make Solar Auxilia. Because early on in the day I thought, oh, I'll just have a small army of these. I won't get a couple of thousand followers on YouTube and have to spread out. Still not doing any loyalists, so any loyalists I paint are going up for giveaways. Speaking of giveaways, I am going to start those up again soon. I had a little bit of postage issues with having loads returned to me, despite me double and triple checking that addresses were correct and that they were done in the right way for the country they were going to. But 2 got sent back damaged. The minis inside were okay, the packaging was damaged. And 1 from America just got sent back fully. So Patrick, if you're watching this, because I've managed to get in touch with the other 2, but Patrick, I've emailed you and not had anything back. So check your emails and check your Patreon message things, because I'd love to get that sent to you. But I can't because I don't know what was wrong with the address. So do get in contact, please. And if anyone knows Patrick, I'm not going to say the surname here because I don't think I should share anyone's full address, like full name out on here. But Patrick, if you're Patrick, you know who you are, Patrick. Contact me. I want to give you free stuff. So, yes. There are a couple of little kitbashes here. I put Sentinel missile pods on the top of the Sakaran to look like the missile pods on the top of the 28mm model. Again, I probably wouldn't have done this if I'd realised how good Sentinels are and if I was going to be using them, because I've wasted quite a few Sentinels on basing and kitbashing. But you know, all for good cause. So I've got 4 of those dotted about. My Predators, 2 of them have weird weapons, and I think I did a video on the weird weapons, but if not, I'll show you now. And they are missing sponsons again because I'm playing with the sponson weapons. But here's a Predator with a massive melter cannon. I just used the melter cannon ends from the Kratos big melter and put 2 of them together, shaved them down so they fit side by side. And there's a little melter Predator. And this one I used the plasma cannon from Sakaran, I think, and just shaved down one of the Sakaran plasmas and made myself a plasma Predator as well and painted it with the nice traditional plasma blue. No rules in the game, they're just to make them more interesting and more fun. That's kind of my raison d'etre, really. Make things more interesting and fun. The world is more interesting and fun if there are people trying to make it more interesting and fun. So there are my tanks. Of course, this guy, he's actually a combination of 2 video lit bashes. I've combined the Dakirian Lanius lit bash on the top, added some red to the banner since the video because I thought it was a little bit plain just being black. And you know, red and green, Christmas Legion, it's fine. And of course the big Volkite gun. It's interesting we haven't had any Volkite weapons really in the game apart from the teeny tiny Volkite handheld guns that some of the Solar Command use. But yeah, there he is. Happy little, well, I say little, biggest tank I own. Happy big little Gratos. Combining 2 previous lit bashes into one. Nowadays I'll use him as a tank commander, but back at the tournament, tank commanders for the Astartes didn't exist. So he's just a regular Kratos in this context. The other Sons of Horus lit bash you've almost certainly seen, and I'll take the flight stand off so you can see one of my favourite ones I've done, the Abaddon and Loken diorama. I'm expecting that as I do this, I'll probably put better photos up of these guys so you're not just seeing from a distance, look at this lovely little model. You'll see them a bit closer. But the thing is, because I wanted it to be the same sort of style and scale as the 28mm one, in terms of how far away they were and standing up on the rock, I needed a 40mm base, and therefore they couldn't be just a command base or something. So I drilled a hole in it, and now I use it as a flight stand for whatever Sons of Horus vehicle I'm using at the time. But yeah, flight stands are such a great opportunity for modelling little dioramas, doing something fun. There's no reason you should just have a big empty base. Do something interesting with it. It won't have any rules, which means you can do anything. Make it a diorama. I want to make a Fall of Rylanor one for a Empress Children flyer, so that there's like a little dying Rylanor at the bottom, with a Xiphon flying over the top, dropping virus bombs, because I am a sadist, I guess. So I think that's all the lit bashes in the Armoured Company for the Sons of Horus, at least in this little collection I have here. Let's look at the Death Guard, because they're the smallest kind of cohort here. Again, it's a fluffy list, but I'm not going to turn down a free seize the initiative and a free make some of your terrain dangerous if it works. So the only lit bash in this whole lot, I think, is Guard Typhon. So there he is. I'm expecting at some point, seeing as now we have tank commanders, I'm expecting at some point there to be a Terminator command base. And I expect at that point that's what this will be. But at the moment it's just a regular command base. It's quite a good one again. It's that trying my hardest to replicate the 28mm model in this scale. So for this one I used, I think it was a sewing needle to make the scythe, and a whole bunch of other little bits to try and get the pose as best as possible. And the teeniest, tiniest little spike made of green stuff. Again, there's a video for this one, so if you want to see real details and how to make your own, please do. Check that out. In fact, even if you've seen it before, check out all my old videos, because I'm monetized now. Back when I made all these, I wasn't. So, you know, the first 7,000 views or whatever of the Eidolon was, you know, that was just for fun. But now YouTube sends me pennies every time you watch a video. So, you know, you're helping me fund this stupid hobby, which I love so very much. Before I move into the biggest cohort here, which is the World Eaters, which has lots of little lit bashes here, let's talk about the Legio. I've got a Lio Mortis, not a specific one because I wanted to try out the grav cannon, and there aren't many named grav mortis. But yeah, I didn't want to just have more missiles. I wanted to have some different weapon types, so I wanted a grav, so I stuck that there. Fun things with this one that I did was I used the transfers, the actual Legio Mortis transfer that you can buy. The transfer sheets are expensive from Games Workshop, and if you have the facility to make your own with transfer paper and printers, do. I don't think anyone would begrudge you that, even Games Workshop themselves, given how little they're willing to reprint these. But certainly the Games Workshop ones are good. The only problem with the Games Workshop ones is they give quite a lot of leeway around the transfers, so you end up with quite a lot of kind of clear border around the transfers, and it's annoying because the shapes are fit exactly for the armor panels, so you don't want the clear border. The clear border then means it goes over the armor panels, and you're spending the whole time trying to dissolve it with whatever dissolver you've got, or cutting it out with a scalpel. Just trim it smaller. I don't know why. I don't know if they're worried about it being printed off the thing. I don't know. I don't see any reason why, but certainly all the little shields, all the little armor panels, the transfers end up being a little bit too big because they've got this weird border you have to trim off. So, you know, Games Workshop, if you happen to be watching this, trust your printers a bit better. You know, I'm sure that they'll be the right size if you cut them to the actual right size. And if they're not, I don't know, you were right all along, you get to pat yourself on the back. There is a lit bash here. I've been rambling about the joys of transfers, but actually this bit here is plastic. It's not one of the resin ones that Games Workshop sells. It is a combination of the volcano cannon, I think, that goes on the top, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a volcano cannon that goes on the top, and the grav cannon from the Predator support tank at 28mm. So this is all plastic, not resin, which means it won't snap. And I just stuck the bits on in the order that I think they would look most like the actual resin piece. But I think it looks a little bit better than the resin piece, because as much as I like resin, particularly Forge World resin as a material, it does on occasion, because it's a traditional sculpt rather than a digital sculpt, for robots and mechanical pieces, it can sometimes look a little bit bendy or a little bit, I'm sure you know what I mean. For characters, resin always. For vehicles, not always. So I prefer my little plastic grab for, and plus, you know, you can name it whichever way you like. If you spray them, prime them both separately, then the extra bit of thickness just gives an extra bit of friction, set the axis to the bishop, so that you can slot it in and it will take the weight of the model just with friction alone, which is nice. So that's my Lio Mortis Reaver. In retrospect, if I were doing the combination of fluffy and competitive, I would have brought a Wildmaster, but I didn't have one at the time. I do now. It is also painted in Lio Mortis, so it would fit the theme, but I didn't have it at the time. And I am showing you the models I brought with me. So, the World Eaters. A whole bunch of stuff that has not been touched, not been kitbashed at all. The Leviathans are exactly as intended. The drop pods are exactly as intended, save for giving them a base because things look better with a base. Lots of the troops are as intended. A little bit of a hint though, if you want a cool command base for any squad really, but particularly tactical squads, use all the spare Roman helmet style ones, and they go particularly well with World Eaters. They'd also probably suit Sons of Horus, but Sons of Horus tend to have that way round of a plume, whereas the kind of Mohawk style plume is quite a World Eaters-y thing to do. And, you know, a whole base of those works really well as a kind of feature base. Just one per tactical squad. So it's a fun way of making things look a little bit more World Eatery. Speaking of looking a little bit more World Eatery, let me pluck him off his base. Here is my World Eater's Thunderhawk, which in game carries 8 assault marines. And the thing I've done for here is I've allowed him to fire the Ursus Claws. Again, he has no extra rules for this, but seeing as Ursus Claws aren't that great on Titans, I figured I'd use it as a little bit of set dressing for him. So, as opposed to just firing a laser, I can fluff it in my brain that he is firing an Ursus Claw from the sky to grab other ships or to pull down much larger Titans in a kind of Battle of Hoth sort of situation. So I'll put a little bit closer zoom up probably while I'm talking to you about this, just so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, it just makes him look a little bit more World Eatery. Here's another one of my flight bases, and this, you can't tell because this is a video, but this is heavy. So heavy I'm slightly worried about holding it over my other models. In this silo here, these are all bits of the Factorum kit. So I kind of decided how I wanted that to look, filling up the base, again being off-center because off-center is cool. Added a bit of sand and gravel just to mix up the base. This is a 50mm one because the Thunderhawk's quite a bit too big for 40 if I'm being honest, and the base size doesn't really matter for flyers, so I don't feel bad for doing that. But this silo is filled with liquid gravity, which is the kind of buckshot. It's not lead, but it's very heavy, and I think it was made for model railways to use as ballast to weigh down kind of dodgy bits of ground that might be popping up or drying wonky, or even just to use as ballast on the rails itself. But it's very good for weighing down flying bases or anything that you think is likely to tip over. So yeah, this is very heavy. So what I did with that was I built it, tipped it upside down, filled it to the very, very brim with liquid gravity, squeezed some super glue in there just to hold it in as close a space as possible, so that then when I plastic glued the base to it and held it down, it formed a nice welded seal. But it's very, very heavy. It still rattles a little bit. So obviously the super glue isn't stuck all of it down, but enough to make sure that it's not going anywhere, because this thing does have a tendency to knock over the flight stance it's on, especially if it were on the 40mm that was recommended. Don't use 40mm for Thunderhawks, silly idea. So yeah, that's him. Again, on the not so interesting side, but still, you know, fun. I've opened up the assault hatch on this Spartan, That's just to symbolise which one has the commander in, because officially the opponent should know which individual models are in each one, and all of them had the same thing in, apart from the one with the commander. So that shows just, if someone has to decide where to place a template, or if they've got any weapons that focus on a single model as opposed to a detachment, and they want to target this guy, they can. Please don't target my boss, but they're all going to anyway. Oh, just out of interest, I know there are a few of my commenters who always like to comment on whether or not I've got nail colours on today. I do. They're a bit sparkly and pink. It's kind of a slightly sheer pink gel. But unfortunately it has to be because I've got a new job and it's a little bit posher than my old job, and they have a little bit of a stricter dress code, so I can't have the black sparkles, at least during term time. Wait until half term and I'll get them a funkier colour and do a nice close-up lit bash for you. So the fun World Eaters lit bash is here, and there are a few that, again, I just didn't think were worth whole videos, but I'm going to point out now. First of all, I've got these guys. There we go. These are the Red Butchers. They are the special terminators for the World Eaters. There are special terminators for quite a few of the, in fact, all of the legions, I think, have their own special terminator variant, but not all of them are cataphracti. But the World Eaters are. So with the little models, it's quite easy to make them. And all I did was use the axes that came with one of the assault marines, swap the weapons out so that two of them had the double axes, as is most kind of traditional for the Red Butchers, and one of them has double chain fists to show he's the boss. So yeah, and then painted them the Red Butcher colours rather than the classic World Eater colours, just to make them stand out. When doing feature bases, I only tend to use 3 models per base, because I think it gives you more space to play with the base if you want to play with the base, and also makes them stand out. When you've got all the others with 5, and then you've got one with 3 of them quite spaced out, it draws your eye to them. So yeah, that's what I did with these Red Butchers. I probably wouldn't do a whole team of these, not least because it requires sacrificing a lot of very good assault marines. But, one base in the middle of a whole team of Terminators really does add some cornate flavour to it. So yeah, there's the first one, the Red Butchers. Along a similar vein, I have the Red Hand Destroyer squads, and I do have 2 of these, mainly to make the assault marines stretch a bit further, because I'd used so many of them to make the Red Butchers, so I had to stretch some of these out. But here, so I've kept one of the ones with the axes, and then I've double pistoled one and double power fisted another. And I've got 2 of these, one of them standing on some spires from the Spire kit, and one of them is standing on an old Sentinel, I think. And I think, yeah, this is another example of me not realising how good Sentinels were going to be. But yeah, there is my Red Hand Destroyer squads. Just bulking out my Assault Marines, and also looking a bit more cornate and a bit more dangerous and a bit more obviously traitor in the mix. Because that's where I'm doing this so early in the Heresy, it being Isstvan III, arguably the first battle of the Heresy. Lots of them look quite loyalist, the death card are quite clean, the Empress Children are all kind of white accented rather than black. Everyone's just a little bit clean, not quite chaosy enough yet, so the occasional little bit of corn is quite nice. I might do a similar thing with Noise Marines / Cacophony at some point, but I haven't worked out how yet. That will happen because I love Cacophony as a unit. I have a Kitbash 28mm version as well. At some point I'll go through some of my 28mm Kitbashes as well, as a kind of behind the scenes look of where kitbashing started for me. But obviously the big videos are going to carry on being epic scale, because it's fun and different and interesting, and as I've said before, fun and different and interesting is where it's at. And of course, the probably most popular lit batch I've done little Kharn himself with the axe. If I were to do him differently now, I would turn the axe head around. I didn't at the time, so I was worried about it snapping off. But I think with enough Yoo-hoo blood goop, it would have stayed still. On that note, I also would have reinforced the base of the flag a bit more as well, because the flag keeps snapping off. Every time I put it away, the flag snaps off, and it's because I've just not given it any reinforcement on the base. So what I would do is probably drill a hole into the base, really build up the plastic glue around it, give it a nice big blood gunk, just so it has something to sit in. Maybe even use some of the blood splatter to anchor it to one of the other models. So yeah, but certainly in terms of accuracy to the model, I think that's one of my best ones. I really like the Isstvan III commanders. I think I've really done them justice. Not all of my lip bashes I think have done justice. Some I think are a bit cobbled together. I think that'll do. But the Isstvan III commanders I am quite proud of. And I hope you like them too. The statistics say you do, so cool. Interestingly, almost always the traitor videos do better than the loyalists, so well done, you are my people. But I will be doing more loyalist lip bashes soon. I've got a whole bunch lined up. I just need to find the time to edit videos. I've got hours and hours of footage that needs editing. Alas, new day job. If you want me not to rely on a day job, why don't you join me on my Patreon and help fund this nonsense and get free stuff once I sort out my beef with the post office. So, fun times there. Have I missed anything? Oh, yeah. It's only small, but I have missed some of my Contemptor lip bashes. Almost all of them I've made running because they're world eaters. So usually that just means taking the leg poses as a suggestion and playing around with them, using the arm poses as a suggestion, cutting off the kind of pins that lock them in a position and move them around a bit so they're running, and I've given them different weapons. So this one has heavy bolters. These couple here have autocannons. And of course in game, all of them count as las cannons because the las cannons are accurate, longer range, just so much better than the Kiris. I am going to try using the Kiris. I've got a drop pod detachment of Kiris autocannon, Sons of Horus Dreadnoughts that are mid-paint. They're not going to do as well as las cannon ones, but they might do something. The idea is that if I can drop pod them in close enough, that they're within assault range with their Kiris autocannons and they get to reroll their ones, they might be okay as anti-infantry. They won't be able to do anything else though. Rip the Kiris autocannon. I think that's everything. Have a look. Those of you watching, I have no idea how good the focus is on this, because the camera's all the way over there and I'm all the way over here. But, you know, if you see anything you think I've missed, let me know in the comments below. Or if you want to ask any more questions about this, please ask in the comments below. Further adaptations I'm going to be making to these. I am going to make another squad of Sunkillers with multi-melters. They're halfway through and I've got a video of those, of how to make multi-melter heavy sports. That's on the way. I'm going to bulk out some of these Terminator squads. I've only got 4 in because I didn't have enough models at the time, but I do now, and they do look better with 5, so I'm going to bulk those out. I've got different weapons on the Predators and give them new bases. That's going to happen. And I want to, now I've got some of the thin acrylic rod that I use to make my Vanguard units like hover without using the little black plastic rods. I want to try making some of these Assault Marines hover as well and fly like the amazing Storm of Chagoris did in pictures I'm going to put up here, who I was lucky enough, and I do mean luck because I imagine it must have been very close. He came second in this competition, so it must have been pipped to the post because I voted for him, and I think genuinely they were much better painted. I think I'm quite proud of my flavour and fluff and kind of conversions, but purely on painting. This guy is incredible, and really consistent bases as well, based traditionally, not just using these plastic bases, but using the plastic bases with basing materials. I'll put a picture up. Unfortunately, I think he is a Games Workshop staff member, so he's not allowed. He said otherwise he'd come on and talk to me about them because they are amazing, and I fully recommend you follow him on Instagram and anywhere else he is. He's Storm_of_Trigoris, so follow him. He's got some amazing White Scar stuff. And imagine that we've had a lovely chat about how pretty his models are, as I mourn the fact I'm not allowed to talk to Games Workshop staff in any kind of official capacity. But still, he good paint. There's loads of great mini painters out there. There's Storm of Trigoris, Draconian mini painting. Goddamn, do look around. There's so much great stuff out there in the community. Yeah, so long time coming. Sorry it was so delayed. Lots of stuff in life. I've turned 35 since April, so I'm old now. I'm halfway to 70, and I look forward to spending the next halfway to 70 painting and converting teeny tiny models and playing with little toy soldiers. And I hope the same for all of you watching at home or on the train or in a public toilet or wherever you happen to be watching my videos. All power to you wherever that happens to be. So yeah, as always, peace and love. Follow me on all the availables. Sub, comment, all the algorithm loving-y things. But more than anything else, keep on lip bashing.